everyone and welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, how to describe? It's very much informal, vlogs, beauty, fashion, all of that jazz. I love sharing kind of bits and pieces of my life with you all. And I just want to say thank you to everyone who subscribed. I absolutely love the little community we have over here. It's so cute. And if you haven't subscribed, it would mean such a great deal if you could subscribe. That would be amazing. But anyway, guys, this is gonna be a very exciting video. And this might not be for everyone. I feel like this video is going to be a bit about my wedding journey, all the tea. I thought we'd sit down, have a drink together, give you my wedding advice, give you all the gossip and the drama leading up to the wedding, the planning, the wedding day itself, what went right, what didn't go right, all of the tea, because my new thing is basically watching TikToks all about people's thoughts after they've had their wedding, budgeting and kind of things that went wrong and the things they didn't even notice, just like all the bits that you don't really know until you have been married and experienced it yourself. So I thought I would finally give you a video for any of my wedding enthusiasts out there, or anyone who just wants to know a little bit more, because I'm guilty. I love knowing people's business. Can't help it. So please, I encourage you guys, get some snacks, get some drinks, because I don't know how long we're gonna be here. But yeah, grab yourself a little drink and let's get into it. First things first, I'm married. We have the ring, and I feel like the rings have such a special story with them, because I guess I can talk to you a little bit about the kind of wedding ring process as well, because this actually blew my mind. But we are married. Me and Adam originally wanted to go to get our rings where my parents got their rings, and it's a small family-owned boutique in Aberdeen. And we went there, and guys, you know me, I like to have something a little bit extra. I like to have something that's different and something that really resembles me. And I've always had it in my mind. I kind of looked years ago on Pinterest and things at like ring stacks, and I had in my mind that I wanted a thicker band, and which was a bit tricky, if I'm honest, because Adam basically nailed my engagement ring. My engagement ring is the most beautiful piece of jewellery I will ever own. It surpasses all of my wildest dreams. I absolutely love it. It's a gorgeous piece of jewellery, and everywhere I go, everyone's always asking about it or notice it. And I really wanted a ring, my wedding band, to not stand out against it, because the ring itself is such a talking piece, but I wanted it to complement it but still kind of be very me, so very like a bit of a fashiony edge to it, if that makes sense. And we went into this boutique and we tried on all different kinds of rings, and I'm not gonna lie, the price of rings really surprised me. Because I wanted it to match my engagement ring, so I wanted it to be 18 karat gold, and I was willing to go like, you know, lab grown diamonds, all that kind of stuff doesn't bother me. But yet the prices, you might need to have a drink for that. The prices just surprised me a little bit. It seems to shoot up when you buy like an ordinary gold ring, and then when you're buying a wedding band. I think anything, as you'll know when you start planning a wedding, anything with wedding or bridal in it, and the price goes up. So I was trying on all different sorts of bands, and nothing was really quite fitting it. And because it's quite a large stone, sometimes it wouldn't even sit like on it or near it. And I was like, this just isn't making sense. Like, this shouldn't be this difficult. And there was loads of things I was trying on, and it doesn't quite slot into place. You know, they weren't like together. And we went down a different route. We went down the route of custom designing our wedding bands. Now, I really want to preface this by saying that I have never done anything like this before, but it was a lovely surprise and one of the best experiences we did for our wedding, because we obviously got to design the wedding bands of our dreams, work with an incredibly talented jewellery designer artiste. I will pop her Instagram handle up here, so please, if you're looking for any piece of jewellery made, it doesn't have to be wedding bands, it can be earrings, necklaces, bracelets, whatever. I'm quite tempted to go back to her again because she's incredible. We had a few consultations with her over Zoom, And then I kind of sent her lots of my Pinterest inspiration. We went to visit her and we had some custom, they kind of got sized up, and our hands got sized up, and we got some custom sketches made. And I knew very early on from that point that I was looking for kind of like a vintage ring. Like, that's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for something that looks like it has a story to it. And that's what we went for. And I love it. And I never thought I'd ever go for such a thicker band. And the thing I want to preface with getting your wedding rings custom made is that it's not that much more expensive than your everyday mass-produced piece of jewellery, which is absolutely fine if you have a very specific thing that you were looking for and you found it. Like, I wear mass jewellery all the time, I wear costume jewellery all the time. But for my wedding band, I just wanted something a bit unique, especially because my engagement ring was quite difficult to kind of find something to match with it. It is genuinely the most sentimental, precious pieces to me. I never take them off. I absolutely am obsessed with them. And again, it's one of those things that's become such a talking piece, and it's got such a lovely story. So I love to tell people the story when I can. I do have an Instagram reel over on my Instagram as well that kind of goes into the process, and I take you guys with me to get my rings designed. And yeah, so that was just absolutely gorgeous. And I feel like I've had a few people now message me saying that they're now feeling a bit more confident and inspired to go for a thicker wedding band, which I love. I love that so much. One of my favorite experiences we did, which I think a lot of people gloss over, is the Jo Malone wedding scenting experience. Guys, if you get the chance to do this, please do. Again, I have an Instagram reel all about it. If I have some pictures, because it was a while ago that we did it, I'll insert it. But this was an amazing experience where we went into the Jo Malone store in Regent Street, but they can do it across all different Jo Malones. And we met up with one of their fragrance consultants, and we sat there and we got a really interesting kind of educational lesson all about fragrance layering and how important it is on your wedding day, and how, in fact, top tip if you're a bride, they spritz your fragrance down your veil so that when you're walking past people, especially when you're walking down the aisle, they all get hit with your scent. And it's just such a lovely touch, and everything that Jo Malone does, but obviously exudes luxury, and they just do everything with such elegance, and it's very refined and pared back. And I found that with the fragrance pairing as well. So me and Adam did a whole host of different scent pairings and what we were both attracted to, and he ended up with a Huntsman collaboration fragrance, and I ended up with Myrrh Tonka, because it's a fragrance I've never worn, though it's such a classic Jo Malone fragrance. And I enjoy really deep, musky, masculine fragrances that have like a hint of spice, which is exactly what Myrrh Tonka is. And I love it because on the day, they engraved our initials on it and everything. That was my first time I got to see my new initials, because I've taken Adam's name. And it's on the bottle, so these bottles are super special to us. They came with a little charm on them as well with our initials, and those were the fragrances. We didn't open up the boxes. Those are the fragrances that we kept sealed and we took on our wedding day. And then we also decided, because I love Jo Malone so much and I've worked with him for so long, that we would do Jo Malone fragrances and candles throughout the ceremony as well as the wedding breakfast. So I chose, I think it was English Pear and Freya, and then Peony and Blush. So I was having a spring wedding in March. I thought it'd make complete sense to go for two of their more lighter home fragrances that also had kind of a touch of spring to them. So I enjoyed that experience so much, and I feel like scent is one of those things that is so powerful. So every time I spritz that perfume now, if we're going on a date night, it just brings me back to the wedding, and he feels exactly the same, and it's one of those investments for us anyway that was just absolutely worth it. So I want to say as well, while we're talking about all these experiences and the lead up to the wedding, I didn't have a wedding planner. And I feel like, because I'm from Scotland, right? And we don't, I mean, from as far as I'm aware, we don't really use wedding planners. It's not commonly known. But down south here, everyone uses a wedding planner. And I think it's a really interesting like cultural difference. And I just want to say that wedding planners, we did look into, because again, when you're kind of getting married back home, you know all the suppliers really well, but down here we don't know the suppliers, especially because we got married in York, and I've only visited York once where we literally got engaged. I didn't know much about who was the best and all that kind of thing. So the wedding planner was something we looked into, but unfortunately for us it was just out of our budget. I really wanted to put that budget into something else. So we went without the wedding planner. So I just want to say, if you can't fit a wedding planner into your budget, you can still absolutely do your wedding. You just have to be that little bit extra organized, is what I would say. So do not stress if you feel other people's wedding planners aren't getting all this extra help. That's amazing, and I really wish I could have had a wedding planner, but if it is not within your budget, you can absolutely still have the most amazing wedding of your dreams. Wedding budgets. Let's have a drink, shall we? Everyone always told me that you're gonna have your wedding budget and then you're gonna go over it. Unfortunately, that has seemed to be the case. So we had a wedding budget based off of other friends' weddings that they kind of let us know in on, and kind of the scale of where York was, basically. And then we did end up going over it. You do, because multiple different reasons, but the wedding industry as a whole since 2020 has actually gone up 4 times in price. Gross. So when I was speaking to different suppliers of mine, they were very transparent and honest with me, talking about how, because I was trying to do a bit of haggling, and they were just talking to me about how their invoices have gone up. They've gone up 4 times since 2020 because of the cost of living, cost of materials, and there's a whole host of different stories. So that was very interesting to learn about. So my top tip would be, when you're budgeting, try and not go for benchmarks of the people around you, because that's what I did, and it made me feel like I was overspending, but I was comparing it to other people's weddings pre-2020. So maybe that's the first tip I would give you. The second tip when it comes to budgeting for me would be, please invest most of your money on your videographer, your photographer, and I would say florals. That's my 3 that I would invest in personally. I know a lot of people would invest in the entertainment, and I think it completely depends on where you're from, but I knew with my family, we love chatting and dancing, and I know there'd be no problems getting the atmosphere up and getting it lively. So I knew that we could go, we didn't have to go as much on the entertainment, and we could put it more towards flowers. I think for me and Adam and the venue itself, we ended up going with Middleton Lodge, which is just beautiful, my absolute dream wedding venue. We knew the place itself would just look so perfect with florals, and on their Instagram there's so many different weddings there, and the place itself just looks so elevated with florals. So we knew we really wanted that. I'm huge into florals. I think flowers are just so gorgeous, and I had such a clear vision of what I wanted. And especially with me with the images and my job, I just really wanted to have that bridal floral aesthetic. And I'm so glad that we did. And I think another little thing you might come across is what I thought florals would cost is not what florals cost. Having flowers at your wedding is probably going to be, regardless of if you're not wanting to invest too much, probably up there in the biggest investment pieces. That's unless you want to go for artificial, which I have no problem with people going for artificial. We went artificial on the groom's little, I don't know what that's called, but it's like the little flower brooch that they have, because we just thought, guys don't really care that much about wearing flowers, and it meant that we could keep it forever. So we got a white thistle onto Adam's kilt, which looked so beautiful, and then we could keep it in our little wedding memory box. But yeah, the florals are gonna surprise you, so make sure you've got a glass of wine when you're getting a quote for your florals, please. My next tip would be to be as flexible, transparent, and have a touch of the haggling nature to you when you're talking to your suppliers. A lot of the suppliers you'll be working with are probably small business-owned independent businesses, basically is what I'm trying to say. And I think there is wiggle room to work within your budget. So for instance, with the florals that we went with, I'll give you a list of all my suppliers down in the description box, just in case you two are getting married near York or Yorkshire, because I'd recommend all of my suppliers. They were amazing. I kind of we had a Zoom call with my florist, and I kind of gave her my vision, and I showed her loads of pictures from Pinterest. Top bridal tip ever is just use Pinterest all the time. It's the perfect way to create boards, share boards with your suppliers, and just give them a very visual mood board of exactly what it is you're looking for. And I gave her everything I was looking for the ceremony, for the wedding breakfast, flower girls, bouquets, everything in between. and she gave me the original quote, and I just had to be honest and be like, look, that is it's not gonna happen. It's just not gonna happen. So what we actually did is we worked around. So initially I had a massive floral installation piece on the ceiling, and I wanted 3 or 4 clouds, and we ended up with 2, one mini cloud and one large cloud, because that was more cost effective. It's the same with I decided not to give my flower girl any flowers, because she's 2, she's not going to care about any flowers. I decided not to give any floral pieces to any of the groomsmen in their buttonholes, because we had about 9 groomsmen, so it would cost too much. And then with my bridesmaids, we went for very simple bouquets as well. So there's ways that you can kind of cut down on costs, or you can change different flowers. I know originally I wanted white roses everywhere, and we decided to go for white roses and then mix with some seasonal flowers in between, so it's not as expensive. The same with the wedding breakfast tables. They all had singles down, white roses down them, because I love that look anyway. I love the minimalism of it. But it's just working out ways that still, it's exactly your taste, your style, but is within your budget. So I ended up going with Middleton Lodge Estate in Yorkshire area, is what I'm going to say. And it is amazing. And it's not just a wedding venue, it's a place you can stay, you can have lunch. It's just absolutely gorgeous. And we did our initial wedding viewing there, venue viewing, because the main thing for us that attracted to us, and I know a lot of brides out there will understand this, is that a lot of venues in the UK do not have a late license. So they'll make you kind of close down the wedding at around about 11 p.m, which for us was not an option. We really wanted to have kind of the time for everyone to leave at their own or keep on partying on, that kind of flexibility. And they actually have a license till 2 a.m. So we were so excited by this. And we went there for our initial wedding venue tour. And it was just perfect, because we knew we'd have friends and family traveling from all across the UK, from Scotland and up from England, or yeah, up from England, down from Scotland, up from England. And we wanted the accommodation to just still be superior, to have accessibility for our elder guests, as well as like certain communal areas where all of our bridal party can be, all of our groomsmen can be together, just so that everyone felt included. We needed somewhere for the night before, and we also loved that the venue had 2 separate estates. So you have your ceremony in the main building, and you can actually have your whole wedding in the main building, because they have a marquee out the back where you can have your wedding breakfast. But we decided we wanted to hire the 2 different estates. So we hired the main building, which is absolutely beautiful. We hired that for the ceremony, and then we also hired the Fig House, which is this absolutely gorgeous like greenhouse Mediterranean style building, basically, with floor to ceiling windows. Absolutely beautiful. And we had that for our wedding breakfast, and then that was our like disco area too. But they also have an underground pub, cellar, bar basically in the back in the main house. So we went there from 12 to 2 a.m, which is amazing as well. So for me, depending on what you're looking for, our top priorities with the venue was the late license, and Middleton Lodge was one of the few in the UK that actually do have a late license. And I think it's one of the reasons that they are so popular, but also their service is absolutely exceptional. On the day, my wedding coordinator was so on it, especially when it came to timing, because with timings, that is what kind of makes sure that your day is running smoothly. You go over the wedding day timetable with your coordinator over and over and over again, because weirdly, the running of the timeline is very important. And I think one of the most important piece of advice I would give is listen to your coordinators on the day. So I know you might think you need an extra 5 minutes to get ready, or after the ceremony you really want to chat to your guests a bit longer, but please, by all means, listen to that wedding coordinator. They know what they're doing, and they're making sure they're keeping things smooth. My next bit of advice, I would say this isn't just because, like, obviously with my job and everything, I really love photography. I mean, Adam, it's both our careers and we're very passionate about photography. I would give this piece of advice because I know a lot of people have different opinions on this, and we were advised to do the opposite of what we've done, but I'm really glad that we did what we did, and this is why. We basically created a very like specific time frame for us to get our pictures taken. And I know I gave my photographers and my videographers massive amounts of mood boards of exactly what you want. Again, I cannot stress enough about how using Pinterest, shared boards, creating mood boards, and giving them a list of the shots. Like I even went as far as screenshotting a photo and being like, I want this one here and I want this one here. Like I made it very structured on what I was looking for, so I knew I wouldn't be disappointed. And I wouldn't have been anyway, because my videographer and photographer were, oh, unreal, like top of their game. All my guests were just saying they couldn't believe how incredible they were. They were so on it, but so like stealthy and very considerate. You didn't even know that they were there, but the shots were incredible. When I shared all my photos to all my guests, everyone just kept saying how good they looked. They were like, I didn't even know you were taking my picture and I've never looked so good. So I'm so happy that all my guests love their portraits of themselves as well. But back to the main point before I go on a massive tangent there. We decided that obviously we were going to have pictures in the morning, and I definitely made sure that I wanted pictures while I was ready. I was like, while I've not got makeup and hair done, there's no point in having the photographer here. I feel like that would be a waste of money and a waste of time. Go over to the boys and see them getting ready. And then we went, got all ready, and then had our pictures taken with like robes and all that kind of cute girly traditional stuff, and then obviously with the dress and things. And then we were going to have our ceremony, and after the ceremony we had scheduled about an hour and a half of like uninterrupted photo dedication time, where after the ceremony, me and Adam, we wanted some downtime to ourselves anyway, because if we would just get rushed into our crowd of our family and friends. And we actually just wanted that time, one, to get the photos, but also just to like be together and just be in our little love bubble, I guess. And it meant that we had that hour and a half of just pure dedicated time. It meant we got the shots, and after that hour and a half we could just play. We could just do whatever we wanted. Obviously our photographers and that were still taking pictures of us, but it was genuinely candid, like we weren't posing for them anymore. And we just allowed that segment of the day to be gone to photos, to make sure that we could just be 100% present with all of our guests and we didn't keep getting interrupted and taken away. And I would definitely advise that, because as soon as you're with everyone again, you really don't want to leave. You want to be chatting to them and seeing your guests and having a good time. So I cannot stress enough how, for me, I went against the grain and just give your photographer and videographer that set time. Now let's get into the tea with the dresses. So I actually went for 3 dresses in the end, which is crazy and extra. I know, I never thought I'd be like this, but you do get carried away. My first dress, I went to Halo and Wren, and I feel like my wedding dress story was a little bit like underwhelming, I would say. I went to different bridal stores, and each time I was just so disappointed. I feel like I'm 5'1", for instance, and I'm curvy, so I have a larger bust, I have hips. And I just feel like none of the dresses, a lot of the dresses were satin, slip, sleeveless or strapless, and I need the support. And I was just struggling. I was really struggling. I just felt very rushed. I felt like every time I was in a store, I had about an hour to find the dress, which, to be honest, I could go into like a Mango and it would take me 40 minutes to just peruse, never mind try stuff on. And wedding dresses, it takes you ages just to try one dress on. So I felt very rushed, I felt pressured. I know my body shape at this point, and I know the styles that are going to suit and the styles that aren't going to suit me. And I just felt like a lot of the bridal stores were giving designs that were super dated, didn't feel like me. I'm quite a modest dresser anyway. I didn't want to get loads of like body out. So yeah, it was quite an uncomfortable experience, and a lot of the time they don't have sizes for me. So they're either like a size 8 or it was, and I'm like a size 12, so it'd be like a size 8 or there'd be a size 18 and you'd have to clamp me in, and so like nothing was fitting and I had to really use the imagination. And yeah, and the prices were just so extortionate for a lot of the dresses, and I don't mind paying for quality, but there was a lot of stuff. It was like a headband that was like £250, like just stupid. So I was kind of feeling a bit like about the whole thing. And then I'd heard about Halo and Wren, and they're situated in Old Hemel High Street, and I was like, I'm not going to think of much, I'm just going to go in. But I love their Instagram. Again, I'll leave their Instagram, and I love the aesthetic. And as soon as I went into the store, what a breath of fresh air. I cannot tell you. First of all, they carry designers that a lot of other bridal boutiques don't have, like they're exclusive. And on top of that, it's like really interesting, different, unique designs, different body shapes. And the girls there are so open to you trying on lots of different dresses. Your appointment could be like an hour and a half. And they're just very non-judgmental, very grounded. They could not be more helpful. You can try as much as you want on, and it was just an incredible experience for me because I was explaining to them that one, I do prefer solo shopping. So I didn't have like I took my friends like a couple times, but it was mostly just me on my own. And I never had my, wow, this is my dress, and like crying emotional like you see in All Say Yes to the Dress. And they were just very much like, oh yeah, like that's so normal. Like I feel like that's all made for TV. Like most brides aren't like that, and a lot of brides do solo shop. So I was like, oh my gosh, because they just don't need all of the different opinions confusing them and confusing their vision. And I was like, this is just such a breath of fresh air. And yeah, the team were amazing, and the owner Gemma is so incredible. She's so hardworking and she just gets it, and it was really great. And we ended up working together in a partnership which was super fruitful for both me and them. And I just wish them all the best of luck, because the dress I got was the actual dress of my dreams. It was perfection, and they helped me every step of the way. And I knew I wanted arms added to it, like sleeves added to it, and they pointed me to direction to an incredibly talented seamstress, and we both designed the sleeves separately together. So those sleeves are custom made and reasonably priced, might I add, reasonably priced. And we went through all the bridal accessories together and the different fittings, and they understood that I was petite, so I got a separate skirt made. They just couldn't be more helpful if they tried. It was incredible. Because another thing I want to preface as well, which I didn't know until I went bridal shopping, is that they have to be the ones to get you in the dress. So you actually pretty much have to strip naked, and they get you in the dress, which I know could be an uncomfortable experience for a lot of different women. So, and especially if you don't know the sales assistant, like if they're not making you feel comfortable. But these girls all made me feel so comfortable, and yeah, it was just a fabulous experience in, I feel like, a rare gem in the bridal studio space. So if you are a bride and you are looking to go bridal shopping and you haven't had a positive experience so far, please check out Halo and Wren, because believe me, I am just like you, and I was really struggling, and I did not enjoy my wedding dress shopping experience at all until I went there. Another bit of bridal advice, especially when it comes to the dress, if you are feeling a little bit like, I don't know if I love my dress, is it the one, like I didn't have that wow moment, please understand I didn't have the wow moment either. The reason I chose my dress is because I put it on and it was the first one that I tried on that I actually felt comfortable in, and not only comfortable, I felt like myself in. I didn't feel like, wow, amazing, I'm beautiful, this is my dress. I actually was like, okay, this is the first one I feel comfortable in. I feel like this could have potential. Like, it was very muted. And it wasn't until each time I tried it on, each time it got tailored to me a bit more, each time I added something I was really looking for, each time I brought my heels in, and then I brought my jewelry in, and over time, the vision of everything came together. And on the day, I remember the first time I seen myself fully dressed up for like my dad and my mom and everyone see me, and I could have cried, and I was almost laughing to myself because I was like, wow, I'm finally getting the wow dress moment on my wedding day. Like, it was a very surreal feeling where I was like, oh my gosh, I look like a bride. And I think that's why it was so emotional. So I know I'm going on and on and on, but my wedding day itself was honestly I mean, I know people say it all the time, but probably the best day of my life. And it is exactly how I wanted it. And I do put that a lot to, one, my suppliers and I working so perfectly together, having so many different consultations beforehand, and then sharing loads of different documents. I mean, I even sent through a document of like the most important people, so the bridal party, the family, the mom and dad, all that kind of stuff, pictures of their face, headshots, and their name to look out for, so I know who I'm getting photos of, to make sure I'm specifically getting photos of the people I want, like my mom and dad. And yeah, so it was just very, very specific with a lot of my suppliers, and it just all worked so smoothly on the day. And I thought I was going to be so nervous on the day, and I ended up actually falling down the trap of being so nervous the night before. So the night before, I barely got any sleep. I was just so nervous. I kept thinking of everything I had to do and like worrying that things weren't going to go right. So I probably got about 3 hours sleep the night before, but seemingly that's normal. Seemingly that is the dreaded bridal sleep. And I was just so excited. So the next morning, the hair came at about 7 a.m. and we started getting my hair into rollers because I knew I had such a big dress, and I knew I was going glam with the makeup, so I wanted my hair to be a little bit more relaxed. So we just had it in like a soft blow dry. And all my bridal party came round, and it was just so fun. We got into our robes, and we had the most relaxing morning, and I thought it was going to be so nerve-wracking, but that morning was honestly gorgeous. It was my favorite women all in one room. We had Bobbi Brown, their makeup artist, doing our makeup, and I used to work in Bobbi Brown, so it felt very full circle. And my hairstylist, who always done my hair, you guys know Sam, she was doing my hair. So it just felt so beautiful, and the vibes in the room was so loving. And I had my little flower girl niece there, and she was loving it. She loved hanging out with all the big girls. We're all getting our makeup done and just singing and dancing. And we had food and we were drinking, and it was just honestly one of my top memories. I absolutely loved it. I felt so grateful for that morning. And we went over to the main house to kind of get some pictures together, read the letter, and for my dad to have my first look, which was actually surprisingly so emotional. I didn't think it was going to be. But yeah, seeing your dad see you for the first time, it's an eye-watering experience. It was very emotional, but so like heartwarming and lovely. And we were all getting ready, and we had the bagpipes at our wedding. So with the bagpipes at our weddings, we still wanted to have like Scottish traditions thrown in there. And when it came to the ceremony, guys, this was the bit that I was dreading the most. The idea of walking down the aisle and everyone looking at me, it makes me feel sick. But weirdly, I don't know what overcame me, but I was not nervous at all. And I know my dad squeezed my hand just before we went in. He's like, "Are you okay? Are you nervous?" I was like, "No, Dad, I'm not nervous." I was like, this is so good. Like, this is only good things, and I am so happy. And then, like, if thinking about it now, it gets me a bit emotional, because that's all I felt. I just felt so grateful, and like, why would I be nervous about this? Like, this is only a good thing that's happening right now. And yeah, then we walked down the aisle, seen Adam, and it's, to this day, me and Adam always think that we thought the ceremony wasn't going to be like the fun part. We were like, oh god, let's get this like serious law bit over and done with. But we look back on it now, and it's one of our favorites. It was incredibly emotional, way more than we thought it would be, and we had a very quick ceremony. It was about 20 minutes tops, but it was very emotional, and we both felt really grateful in that moment, and it was beautiful. We did the photos, we did the car, we had our little 15 minutes together, and we had the Rolls Royce. It was so cool, and we had like a bottle of champagne in the Rolls Royce, and it was just incredible to be together in that moment and just think, oh my god, we're a married couple. It was really, really sweet. And joined our guests for some appetizers that were sent around, some drinks, some Prosecco. And then we headed over to the wedding breakfast when we had the speeches. And this was the part we really wanted to include some of our Scottish traditions. So obviously we had bagpipes playing, but we also had our friend, his name's Craig, but we call him Haggis. And he kind of did the hand fasting, tying the knot. And it's a Scottish tradition where you're two clans who are getting married. In my case, it would be Adam was Walker, I was Robertson. And you basically tie the two tartans together in a knot, and each, we did it, there's different ways you can do it, but we did it with 3 different circles, each circle meaning I think it's your friends, your family, and your love for one another. And it was really beautiful. And then we drank from the quaich, which was a shot of whiskey from the quaich as well, to kind of, I think it's to commemorate the two clans coming together. So that was amazing as well. And he did a little history lesson, so everyone was included in what was going on. And then it was just, yeah, and then straight to partying, having the cake, cutting the cake. We went and had our second changes, where you see some of our night photos, which I'd highly recommend doing, by the way, because you will need, as a bride, to touch up, because you have been kissing, you've been talking to everyone, you've been eating, you've been drinking, you will want to touch up, and you've been crying and laughing, and I cannot tell you how much. It might seem a thought, like I remember at the time thinking, I don't want to leave, but as soon as I went back to my bridal suite, I was like, oh girl, you need a touch up. So a little bit concealer, lip liner, lipstick, gloss, girl, I was good to go. And I just feel like adding those extra bits meant when I came back, it was like second transformation, second dress, hi, and it was just very refreshing. So for me, on the wedding day, there was not much that went wrong, so I'm really lucky in that regards, because they always say something will go wrong or something will get missed out, which is true. I think for me, the only things would be the day before we had a little bit of a family drama, and that meant that we arrived late to the venue, so a lot of the stuff that we were taking with us, like the signages, all the props, the decorations, got given to our coordinator way later than we would have liked. And we actually wanted to have cocktails in all of the rooms of the guests, so when they arrived they had a cocktail, but all the guests were arriving before us. So it meant that Adam had to run around all of the rooms across the estate handing out cocktails. So I'm not even sure to this day if everyone got a cocktail. I know a few people did, but I'm not sure if everyone did. So that was a little bit like, oh, that didn't run as smooth to plan, but these things happen. The second one would be is that not everyone is going to know the details that you put in. So for me, I made little coffee cups for everyone to go into the room, and it had kind of like a little bridal crest of me and Adam's initials, and it was like a coffee. It was like to do with our wedding day, the date, all that kind of stuff. And I remember being like, this is a vibe, I love this. And I would say probably only about 50% of people notice this. And again, that's because during the wedding process, I'm keeping everything so private. So for me, another tip would be explain to your guests beforehand what's coming and what to look out for, because people just might forget or not even see it. But genuinely, apart from that, I feel like I got really lucky with things all going to plan. It was exactly what was expected, and the next day me and Adam booked ourselves into a hotel just to decompress and relax, me and him. But I feel so lucky with the experience that I had. I feel like it was super positive, and even talking about it now, and I'm so sorry, it's gonna be such a long video, even talking about it just now, it just makes me smile. And we still have our wedding movie to come, which is super exciting, because if you didn't know, wedding photos can take 6 to 8 weeks to come back, and the movie takes even longer. So we're so looking forward to looking at those again. We got our wedding photos back last week, and we spent literally 3 hours just poring over it. It was one of the most incredible days. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. I'm so sorry it's a long one. I tried to keep it short and sweet, but it's clearly not short and sweet. I have so much to say, and I feel like it could go on forever and ever and ever, but I won't. I'll stop now. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you've got any questions at all, please leave them below, and I'll try and get back to them and be as honest and transparent as I possibly can. But if you know a bride, give her lots of support. If you're a wedding guest, soak it in, because so much hard work has went into this. I just can't believe I have entered my wifey era, and I'm loving it. But guys, thank you so much for spending the time with me, chatting through everything, and all your support and love across all of my wedding photos and everything on Instagram. Mwah, just means the world. And I will see you in my next video. Bye.